Hey there, welcome to a little Kinstretch based around helping you hang out a little better, but specifically working on the shoulder ability to do things like hanging. Um, Today's class is a little bit of a hybrid class in the sense that we're going to work through some basic nutrient inputs for your shoulder, especially in this shoulder flexion zone. For the first part of the class, sort of in a shorter kin chunk type format, and then we'll pause and move to the bar to actually hang from the bar and do a little strength and conditioning for that position if you happen to have a bar to work from at home. So you can kind of use this class however works best for you and your setup. In terms of props for today, there are a couple props that you're really going to need for the class, one of which is a little wall space. So you want that clear wall to be available to you from a kneeling position or standing position. Either one will work for our setups today. And you're also going to want a yoga block or a thick pillow that's sort of similar size and shape. Those two are going to be really crucial. Then on top of that, if you happen to have a tennis ball and a small towel or a pillow that you can put under your head when we're in face down, that'll just make your practice feel a little better and maybe feel a little more effective, but nice to have. Okay, so gather those items and then let's get right into it with a little warm up for your shoulders, specifically your shoulder blades. So I'm going to have Marley here face the wall, and we're going to work from tall kneeling, but again, you could do this from standing or kneeling. Hands on the wall, and I want you to walk your hands a little wider than usual. Good. And then take a moment to curl your tailbone under to find that active torso, that active brace. And then with that braced feeling, push the wall away and just take a moment to really find that sense of shoulder blades sliding apart without engaging too much neck in the motion. Okay, and once you feel that, keep your body braced, shrug your shoulder blades up to your ears to actually engage that neck tissue, and then let your whole torso move as a unit towards the wall to feel how your shoulder blades slide towards each other, and then down your spine for scapular depression. Good. So keep tracing this circle, pushing the wall away, shrugging the shoulder blades up, retracting the shoulder blades back, and then sliding them into your back pockets. Keep going for about 15 more seconds in this direction. And really, I encourage you to focus on the quality of your plank or the quality of your brace through your midsection, and then just notice what's available for the scapular motion. We really want to make sure the priority is on the non-moving part of your body. And then wherever you might be, pause and start moving through that scapular car in the other direction. Just giving some gentle rotations to that area, tuning up or turning up the muscles around the shoulder blade that really will get that motion to happen and will help us out as we progress through the class today. Good stuff. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. So come away from the wall, come now to the floor on the hands and knees, and we're going to just try to transfer what you were noticing on the wall to now a little bit more demanding position for the core and also for the shoulder blades. Again here, I want you to walk your hands really wide, much wider than we usually do, and turn your fingers out. Okay, so this actually puts your glenohumeral joint in a little bit more of a mid-range position, which might help you access a bit more motion in the scapula. Add to that a little curl in your tailbone and make your hands heavy here, your feet heavy, so you feel your midsection kick on. And then finish that by fully exhaling. Blow all the air out. Notice the activation on the sides of your torso and try to keep that as we go through this scapular car. You can try to breathe normally, but keep that brace. All right, here we go. Shoulder blades slide apart to push the ground away. Shrug up to your ears. Keep that shrug as your whole torso moves towards the ground and your shoulder blades slide together, and then slide those shoulder blades into your back pockets. Good stuff. Keep going in this direction. Being okay with the fact that this setup for scapular cars might feel like you can do a smaller car. That's okay. The intensity increase is sort of worth the trade-off of a little less motion. Good. And wherever you find yourself, pause and just go the other way through this scapular car. Really letting the heat in your body build up. So you're preparing the upper body, the shoulder, the glenohumeral joint, all the stuff around your shoulders are going to be ready for some real strength inputs in a few minutes. And let that go. Awesome. Okay, now come into a side lying position. Here's where you're going to want your block or pillow under your head so your neck is nice and supported. And then from here, we need to get your bottom arm sort of out of the picture. So I like to just bring it down towards the legs, and you could push on your bottom leg, push on your top leg, just to create a little bit of a brace. Make sure that bottom shoulder's comfy. And then reach your top arm straight out in front of you, and we're gonna do a shoulder carve for that top arm. Okay, and I love this setup because you can feel very connected to the ground, very stable, and you can also play with this idea of shoulder adduction, or how much can you cut your arm across your body, maybe hitting the ground, and if you can, pushing into the ground. Good. Go ahead and make a fist, perfect. And then keep that fist as you start your car. Start to sweep your arm up, trying to brush your cheek if possible, and going as far overhead to the ear as you can. When you feel like your arm's gonna start heading away from your head, you can pause there and start to internally rotate. Use that to continue your car, reaching behind you, exploring that space behind your body, but keeping your torso completely in side lying so you're not allowing your ribs to roll and face the ceiling. Finish up that car at your hip by internally rotating completely, and then reverse. Go straight back behind you. Hold that position and just begin externally rotating to, again, explore that world behind you. Very nice. And this is a bit of a test movement, meaning you're just going by feel, you're getting an assessment of what's possible, and keep going for another 30 seconds. Now Marley's working with relatively pain-free, kind of functional shoulders, but this class is really intended for wherever you're at with your shoulders. So as you go through, you might notice a much smaller circle in your car, and if that's the pain-free version you can create, that's the one we want you to do. We never want you to just push through pain and kind of make the shape that you're seeing, but actually go for the input that your shoulder needs. Great stuff. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great work. All right, let's flip on over. You can just roll on your other side if you'd like, and we'll get the same input for the other arm. And then the bottom arm, find your position that's out of the way. Top arm reaches out in front of you. Nice fist, cutting across. And this time we'll just say a quick note about your elbow. This is going to be a major focus today where your elbow is going to try to bend to create more feeling of movement, but that's not really then movement from your shoulder. So take a second here to really feel what are the muscles that keeps my elbow straight, roughly in the back of the upper arm. Can you keep your focus there all the way through these cars? All right, here we go. Across your body, pushing into the floor and start to reach up overhead. Keeping that elbow straightness on the front of your mind. Whenever you get to your sticking point overhead, start to internally rotate. Use that internal rotation to reach behind you. Ooh, just cleared the wall. Nice. Good. As you reach back, don't let your ribs roll or let your body turn at all. Just create that motion from the shoulder joint. And then when you get to the hip, make sure you're fully internally rotated before reversing and going straight back. Feeling into all the contractions and stretches you might notice. And equally respecting any pain signals that you might run into and just steering clear of that pain signal. Good. Always an important reminder, we're not interested in even a little bit of pain. So if there's a little bit of pain at some of these angles, we want you to cut that angle out too. Good. Another 20 seconds. Keeping your torso braced and still, making sure you feel some activity in the rest of your body, even as you're really tuning into the motion of that arm. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and wherever you find yourself, pause there and relax. All right, Now take a look at here. We're going to just demonstrate the next position, which will be from face down, so it'll be hard for you to see. And for now, you can just rest your forehead on your left arm when in a second when you join us. And then you're going to want your tennis ball to live right underneath, sort of by your collarbone, sort of at the top of your chest, really just to give you some tactile feedback of if your shoulder drops down towards the floor, you'll feel the tennis ball. So in a moment, I'll cue you to pull that shoulder blade away from the tennis ball. Yep, and then that'll be the set point that we use to keep the shoulder blade still as we then work on the arm. So that the work on the arm, I'll cue you through, but it will involve some pushing into the floor and then some lifting away from the floor at a few different angles. All right, so go ahead and make your way into this position yourself. If the left arm underneath your forehead doesn't feel good, you could place that pillow or towel underneath your forehead. And then place that tennis ball again right in that groove or notch between your chest and your shoulder. Doesn't have to be exact, so just something sort of just below the outside of your collarbone will be fine. And then once you feel that tennis ball there, bring your arm right down the side of your body and pull your shoulder blade back to try to clear the tennis ball. You still might feel it, but you should notice that your shoulder blade has now moved, and you're going to park it there. And then from here, make a fist with that arm. Fully internally rotate the shoulder, just like you were just working in the car, and gently begin pushing that fist down into the ground without letting the shoulder blade move at all. It's a very weird sensation at first, so go lightly, and as you get a sense of what you're asking your body to do, gradually make that fist heavier and heavier. This is a PAILs contraction for the tissue on the front of the shoulder, which is often just avoided because of regular movement patterns. Okay, now keep that shoulder blade retracted and start asking that fist to, instead of being heavy, start asking it to get light. This should turn on a contraction on the back of the shoulder. Continue making it light until you surprise yourself by lifting your fist off the ground. And then go ahead and keep lifting it only as far as you can with a straight elbow. Go ahead, find that amount of shoulder extension that you can. Hold it there. 5, 4, 3, 2, sending as much juice as you can to the back of the shoulder, and then slowly melting down. Okay? Now just take a quick gander at the screen here before we do the next one. Here's what you don't want to have happen. You set your shoulder blade back, and then as soon as you lift your arm, your shoulder blade slides forward and hits the tennis ball. That's what we don't want. So now as we progress the angle of your arm, keep that in mind to really keep that shoulder blade back. Okay, so now with your right hand, walk your fingers out to the side and go slow so you can detect, okay, what feels like mid-range for you. So not all the way up overhead, but something in the middle where I can still keep the elbows straight and it feels safe on the shoulder. Okay, and then wherever you park it, go ahead and leave the hand flat on the ground for now. And instead of just pulling the shoulder blade back to get off the tennis ball, you're going to need to slide your hand in towards your body a little bit. And that's how we'll find our retracted shoulder blade position. Yeah, you can try it a few times to make sure you're getting away from that tennis ball. And then just check on your lower back and make sure we're not hyperextending the lower back when we're trying to move the shoulder blade. Good. Once you get that shoulder blade set, make a fist with that right arm. Rotate your whole arm so that your thumb is up in like a hitchhiker position. Cool. And then from here, gently begin making your fist heavy while your shoulder blade stays retracted. This is your PAILs contraction again, just at a different angle. Gradually ramp up the pressure you're creating with your fist up to a nice, intense, but still safe feeling level, probably north of 50%. Hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2. Now keep your shoulder blade right where it is, and now ask that fist to get lighter and lighter on the ground. Notice the contraction shift to the back of the arm, and then keep that contraction going until you surprise yourself by lifting your fist off, and continue asking for more, just not allowing that shoulder blade to come forward. Once you're finding your maximum height, keep asking for more contraction in the back of the shoulder for 5, 4, 3, open your chest, 2, even more, and then a slow motion parachute action to the ground. Okay, good. Now, if you were watching the screen and you're seeing all this height underneath Marley's hand, that might not be you. You might have gotten this much lift or even stayed on the ground but felt the contraction, and that's perfect. That's going to be what you want. Okay, now for our final one, you're going to place the hand flat on the ground, walk your fingers up overhead, and Marley's hand might come off the frame, but that's okay. You get the idea here. You're just going to walk your arm as far overhead as, again, feels safe for you. That might be all the way next to the crown of your head. Nice. Or that might be kind of just out to the side in a Y position. Okay. Once you get there, start by noticing if your elbow has bent and make sure it's straight. Okay, and adjust if needed. And then very slowly slide your hand towards your body to help you slide your shoulder blade back onto the back of your rib cage. Good. So the tennis ball should again get cleared once you get that shoulder blade back. Make a fist and go thumb up again. If that doesn't feel good, you could go knuckles down, but ideally thumb up. And then keeping the shoulder blade back, begin again. Pressure with the fist, very light at first, because you want to be able to detect if your elbow bends, which will be very common in this setup. Gradually ramping up the downward pressure with the fist as you keep that shoulder blade back, feeling muscles maybe kicking on in your mid-back. Ramp it up to a strong feeling, challenging feeling, but still safe amount of pressure. 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep that chest open, keep that shoulder blade back, and begin asking the fist to get light on the floor without lifting. All right. So now to get that little shoulder car input to link these positions together, start with your arm right by your hip, fully internally rotate your arm, make a fist, and then slide that shoulder blade back to get away from the tennis ball, and go ahead and start lifting your arm up without letting your shoulder blade come forward. As you find your maximum lift possible, that's your sticking point. Begin externally rotating the whole arm in order to start sweeping that arm through the angles we were just working on. So every angle you get to should come with more external rotation. Keep going until either you run into a painful stopping point or maybe your fist runs into the ground. You get to choose where you stop. Wherever you get, pause there. Make sure you're lifted off as high as you can from the ground and start internally rotating to sweep your arm back. Good. Using that internal rotation of the upper arm to help you access even more height to reach behind you. Good. When you get that arm again behind you, completely keep the shoulder blade back and slowly lower the arm to the ground. Good. Okay. So just to help your brain understand how these isometric positions fit into a full car. All right, take a moment to breathe and switch over to the other side. Good. Okay, so get that tennis ball parked underneath the collarbone, shoulder, chest junction area. Good. And then make sure your right arm and your head feel supported. It's always worthwhile to take that extra second to feel comfy. And then with the left arm right by your side, slide your left shoulder blade back as far as you can to get away from the tennis ball. Make sure your lower back is chill. And then begin pressuring your fist on that left side into the floor. Gently at first, so you can keep track of your shoulder blades staying back, retracted, and all the muscles along your spine are working to keep that shoulder blade position. Building up the pressure with your fist past 50%, up to an amount of intensity that feels challenging but safe. For 3, 2, keep your position, keep your brace, keep your shoulder blade back, and now ask that fist to get light on the floor. Once it feels clear what you're contracting on the back of the arm, use that to lift your fist as high as you can behind you, which might be just a ½ inch off the ground, or it might be a foot or more off the ground. Just depends on what's available for you. Hold that maximum and continue asking for more contraction in the back of the shoulder for 5, 4, 3. Send it even more juice. Make this a max effort and very slowly let that hand come down like a parachute. Great. Good. And once you get your hand to the floor, you can walk your palm out to the side, kind of spider walk it out until you're roughly at a T position out to the side. But again, something that feels middle range for you. Okay. Then from here, to get your shoulder blade back, you're going to slide your palm towards your body. And then again, make sure your lower back is chill and your torso is still heavy on the ground. We're not rolling to the side. And then once your shoulder blade's back, make a fist, thumb up towards the ceiling, hitchhiker position, and then gently begin making that fist heavier into the ground. Gentle at first, so that you're able to keep track of your elbow and your shoulder blade, and then layer on more intensity while you're able to keep those positions still. Keep adding pressure until you find a nice, challenging but safe level. Hold it there. Strength training here. And then keeping your shoulder blade back, keeping your body still and braced, switch to asking your fist to get light without lifting. Notice that the contraction jumps to the back of the arm. And then continue adding juice to that contraction until your fist surprises you by maybe coming off the floor. And as you get a sense of that, ask your chest to open up even more to really get that arm as far behind you as possible. Good. Trying to really feel the work that's happening at the back of your shoulder. And if you don't feel it there, I almost guarantee that your shoulder blade has moved out of position. So just go ahead, quick reset. Get that arm up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and parachute landing down to the ground. Good. Once you're there, spider walk your hand into our final position. Good. You need a pillow under the head? You good? Yeah, I'm okay. Okay. We got a little roadkill position here. Okay, now from here, again, slowly slide your shoulder blade down your back to your spine, so that hand comes towards you, elbows still straight, and you're off the tennis ball. And then hitchhiker position with the thumb, nice tight fist. Start making that fist heavier and heavier into the ground, making sure it feels gradually increasing and not all at once. Let that gradual increase start to become more and more real, more and more intense in your body. And then keep that intensity, hold on to a challenging but safe amount of effort for 5, 4, 3, 2, keep your shoulder blade, keep your body still, and now ask the fist to get light. Once you notice the contraction jump to the back of the arm, send more and more until you're able to lift that fist as high as possible. As you do that, keep trying to feel connected to the mid-back and not just hang those shoulder blades up to your ears, okay? Keep those shoulder blades pulled down your back to help you actually find this reach overhead for 5, 4, elbows straight, 3, reaching higher, 2, more juice to the shoulder, 1, and parachute down. Bueno. Okay. As you rest and recover here, walk that hand back down by your side, and let's do that shoulder car to just link these positions together. So make a fist, internally rotate the arm, pull that shoulder blade back off the tennis ball, and then once you're really set there and you're feeling that contraction, start to lift your fist behind you as high as you can without the shoulder blade sliding off your back. Once you've found that position, begin externally rotating the arm to start your shoulder car, sort of the back half of your shoulder car. Keep going through that T position you were working on a second ago. all the way up to that overhead position you were working, and maybe even into the floor. If you find a spot where you hit the floor, still feels pain-free, that can be your stop sign. Then pause there, lift back up if you're on the ground, internally rotate, and use that internal rotation to reach into the space behind you. Keep thinking heavy chest, but staying off that tennis ball as you wind up that shoulder joint all the way back to internal rotation, and then parachute landing down to the ground. Booyah. Very nice, okay? All right, so now working facing the wall, you could be standing or in tall kneeling, which is what I'll have Marley do. And then start with those hands out in front of you, now right in front of your shoulders, okay? Now, this next position is going to be very specific to your shoulders, right to left, but also just different than what you might see Marley showing. So just keep that in mind as we begin finding your end range. First things first, curl your tailbone under so that we don't let the ribs just flare up as we walk the arms up the wall, but that it's really just motion from the shoulder that we're training here. Okay, so then begin walking your fingertips up the wall, and if your knees stay where they are and your hands go above your shoulders, at some point your planked torso is going to start leaning in towards the wall a little bit, and that's by design, that's on purpose. Okay, make sure that that doesn't just happen by your hips coming forward, but actually the whole body starts to lean, and then continue walking your fingers up the wall until you're fully at what feels like end range. So if there's pain, you got to back off from that. If you feel stretch in the front of the shoulder, that's a good indication of end range. But the other thing might be somewhere in the middle where you just feel tightness here, but you don't feel any stretch on the front side. And I'll have you use that as your end range stop sign as well. Okay, so whatever you're finding here, the shoulder blades are down your back, your neck is relaxed, palms are feeling very connected to the wall. And then just again, check that your pelvis is curled under so you feel a strong plank position. All right, now from here, we're going to begin an isometric for both arms at the same time by making your fingertips heavy first, then fingertips plus palms, then check in that your elbows are straight and actively locked, and then keep all of those things happening as you start asking the hands to pull down on the wall without any motion occurring. So that isometric effort should show up all the way down the arm, into the armpit, and even into the ribs, abs, and even into the front of the hips. Okay, so see if you can connect all those dots, get your legs even more engaged, hands even more engaged. If it's a full body feeling, you're probably past 50% intensity. Continue building up to your greatest safe feeling PAILs contraction for a 10-second hold. Super glued hands pulling down on the wall, shoulders staying away from your ears for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax, keeping your hands on the wall, but just let your elbows bend for a second. Let those hips move a little bit, okay? Because we want to keep the position you had. And then reset by curling your tailbone under, finding that plank. And if it feels possible, you could walk your fingers up a little higher on the wall, but don't push it. We really don't get a lot of benefit by squeezing or pinching the top of the shoulder further. We really get a benefit more from lengthening and stretching the front. So if you feel the stretch, go for it. If you're just feeling the pinch, stay where you were. All right, now for this second PAILs contraction, fingertips get super glued. Then palms get super glued to the wall. Then your elbows get actively straightened so that they're part of the show. And then keep all of that arm activity happening as you start to pull downward on the wall. Keep the integrity of your rib cage and turn this into a full body PAILs contraction for shoulder flexion. Finding again your greatest safe effort as you ramp up intensity. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly melt that down. Great. Okay, now this time you can come away from the wall. And just a note, if you're taking this class on several rewatchings, this could be a great way to progressively increase shoulder flexion or return shoulder flexion if you're someone who's worked through frozen shoulder or something similar at that joint. All right, let's give that a quick break by coming down into hands and knees, but then immediately we'll drop to forearms or elbows and knees. Okay. Now from here, you can see Marley's sitting butt all the way to heels, and that's sort of your target. But if that's not available because of knee or ankle tightness, you could just walk your hands a little further from the knees so your butt's a little bit up. Ideally, you could throw a pillow or a towel or a blanket, something between your butt and your heels so you can still sit down and feel that anchor without fully flexing the knee. But go ahead and get comfortable in your angle of setup. Okay, and then using the heavy palms as well as the heavy elbows, feel into how much you can send your spine up to the ceiling, which is really saying how much can you slide your shoulder blades off the rib cage out to the side. Good. And a little rounding of your spine is totally fine, but just keep in mind we're really focusing on scapular protraction more so than spinal flexion. All right. Once you feel like you've pushed the ground away as much as you can, take a nice, strong exhale. Blow all the air out of your body without letting your torso drop. And then use an inhale through your nose to try to inflate your back with air. Try to send air into that stretching portion between your shoulder blades. And then another strong exhale through your mouth, further pushing yourself away from the ground. Keep going like this. Inhale through the nose, strong and long exhale through the mouth, using both the inhale and the exhale to send your spine more towards the ceiling. Good. Keep working. Check in on your neck. This is not a neck exercise, although your neck might be trying to turn it into a neck exercise. Instead, try to feel that work wrapping around the side of your rib cage, south of your armpits. Another 10 seconds of deep breathing, inflating your back on the inhale, and then pushing the world away with the exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and relax. And then set up with your back completely flattened out on the mat. Actively find your brace by blowing the air out and then lifting your feet into tabletop. And then that block goes now on your right thigh so that your left arm can brace across your body. Find that strong brace for this side. Reach your right arm straight out in front of you. And then begin slowly reaching overhead so you can really keep track of that elbow staying straight and that block staying squeezed so your torso is staying still. And then back and forth here, 30 seconds of exploring overhead flexion of the shoulder. If you run into the ground, you can push into the ground if you have that room. But just keep in mind, we're not trying to reach the arm out to the side at all. It's really just in that plane right out in front of you. Keep that strong ab feeling. 10 more seconds. Never letting your ribs flare up or your lower back come away from the ground. For 3, 2, and 1. Good. All right. Come on over to hands and knees. Let's just let the spine move a little bit after all that bracing. Okay, and then whatever your best quadruped position is, use that one for this cat-cow variation. So heavy hands, heavy feet, and then start fully flexed. So fully round your spine over. Just take a moment to stretch into that shape. And then keeping your chin curled in, start the motion at your tailbone this time, lifting your tail feathers, tilting your belt buckle, sending your belly button forward, but keeping that roundness in your upper back and neck. And then continue working your way up your spine, sensing into how much you can actually move each vertebrae of your spine. Totally different than what I was just asking you to do on the ground, where we were going for no movement. Once your chin gets to the ceiling, pause there and sense into a stretch that you might find on the front line of your body. Keep that stretch happening through your neck and chest, and just start curling your tailbone to start going the other way. Good. Finding that articulation, looking for movement in each segment. So where is there available movement that maybe wasn't obvious at first or wasn't obvious on, first run through of the car? Leaving that option open for more motion. Continue working at your own pace here for these last 20 seconds. Giving your spinal joints a little love. Great. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let that go. Cool. Okay, so one more piece for that dead bug position that we were working on the ground, but now you will want to be near a wall. You want your head to be laying on the ground about maybe a foot or 1.5 feet away from the wall. Some position that allows you to easily place your hands on the wall with bent elbows. Okay, so this needs to again feel safe for your shoulder joint. So if you need to scooch closer or further, whatever. But once you get there, you want to feel like your hands are in a position that you could push this wall over if it was flimsy enough and you were the Hulk and you could do that. Okay, so find that pressure, feel stable. You can see Marley's kind of moving her whole body. Good. Okay, so find that. And really, this is a chance to again feel that wrapping of your shoulder blades wrapping around, which should allow you to connect the feeling of pushing the wall a little further down your torso. Okay, so feeling into that. Now feel into your lower back, getting flat on the ground. Curl your tailbone and fully blow the air out of your body to really get your abs on. Then keeping those abs, keeping the hand pressure, lift your feet off the wall. And we're going to just begin moving the legs, trying to reach one leg at a time as far away from you as you can, maybe getting the heel towards the floor, but not forcing it, because we want to keep the work happening through your upper body and abs as we alternate legs. Good. And really let that leg motion be as small as you need it to be to keep focusing on pressure with the wall, elbows driving through hands, shoulders and shoulder blades supporting that pressure so your neck doesn't need to start getting involved. Keep breathing and working. 10 more seconds. Letting this be full body effort. 3, 2, 1, and relax that. Awesome job. Okay, so it's another position we ask those shoulders to work through as we start to come back to flexion. Okay, so at this point, we're going to pause and shift over to some work from the bar to work on hanging. If you have that bar and you're going to keep joining us, awesome. Otherwise, let us know how this class felt and how that shoulder flexion is coming along for you. All right, so at this point, we're going to transition over to the bar. Whatever hanging setup you have is great. You can see Marley threw some gloves on because a big limiting factor, especially at first for some hanging work, is that skin stress that you might feel. Over time, I think that's actually a really good thing to condition, but absolutely grab some gloves or whatever might help you feel more comfortable as we do some repetitions here for hanging. Now, first, go ahead and just reach overhead and make sure you can stand on something like a chair or a stool and get your arms and you feel safe and secure in this setup. Okay, we're going to work with how to use that surface that you're standing on. What we don't want is just to jump and hang from the bar, because then we don't have a lot of control over setup and positioning. All right, so make sure that that's available to you. If you need to pause and grab a chair, that's fine. And then also just a note, if you're using that kind of bar that's low in your doorway, which I love, I have one myself, that works fine to just let your knees bend, get your arms straight by sitting down into it. And that'll work great for what we're gonna do today. So not limited there. All right, once you're set, start by grabbing the bar, get your thumbs all the way around the bar. So we're not doing the kind of open grip, but a full closed grip. You could even pinch your index finger with your thumb to get an even tighter grip on there. And then really start to squeeze your hands as tight as possible. And notice how that spills contraction into the rest of the body. Keep that contraction. Ask your shoulder blades to slide apart so you send your spine behind you. And then send your hips behind you as well. Curl your tailbone. And feel, this is going to be our first body weight hang. So the feet are still supported, maybe the knees are bent, that's great, but you're focusing on curling your tailbone, feeling your midsection very active, and wrapping those shoulder blades around while you're hanging from the bar. For 3, 2, 1. Good. Come off tension, come back onto your feet, and just shake your hands out here. All right, so the next round, we're going to do that exact same setup, but now you're going to just ask your feet to get a little lighter on the surface without lifting up. Okay, so very important you leave the feet on for now. Grab the bar, find straight elbows and a nice strong grip. Wrap those shoulder blades around the side so you're pushing your ribs back. Curl your tailbone under, maybe bending your knees if needed. And then start asking the feet to get lighter and lighter, like you're on a scale and you're just slowly watching that number go down, but not all at once. Good. And then hold whatever you're finding when the feet are as light as possible without lifting off yet. Hold this for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great. Shake that out. Okay, so now as these inputs get a little bit more real, I'm going to be keeping track of the rest intervals for you. So we'll basically be doing a 10-second hold and then resting for the remainder of a minute so that we can just get a series of inputs every minute on the minute. One of my favorite ways to work strength and conditioning. So for this next one, you're able now to take your feet off the surface if that feels right for your shoulders, but really do go by feel. If it starts to get too crazy or your shoulder blades come up to your ears, then you need to stop and leave the feet on the surface, okay? So grab that bar. Melt the grip tightly. Wrap those shoulder blades around your ribs. Curl your tailbone under. And then start asking those feet to get lighter and lighter until maybe you surprise yourself with coming off the surface, but go slow so you limit your amount of swing here. For 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Awesome. All right, shake that out. Now I'm guessing at this point your grip and forearm and shoulders are starting to feel it a little bit. So continue using as much support under your feet as you need to keep getting inputs and not just burning out. One more note, if your feet are coming off the surface, I'll ask you on this next round to now squeeze them together and get a little bit more contraction of your hip tissue. All right, so we'll start in a moment, but go ahead, find the bar with your hands, get that good grip, wrap those shoulder blades, taking your time to set up well, curl your tailbone, good. If you think your feet are gonna come off the surface this time, squeeze your feet together tightly, and then here we go. Let your full hang come into your hands, maybe coming off the surface, or maybe just working with the lightest feet you can for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out. Great. Just 2 more sets here because after 6 rounds, we'll have had 10 seconds times 6, so a full minute accumulated for hanging for the shoulder. And there's some really interesting research around how effective that can be to maintain the normal shape of a shoulder joint. That hanging can be a really important input. Okay, so shake those hands out one more time and then bring them onto the bar. Strong grip, thumb around. Elbows are straight, shoulder blades wrap forward. Curl your tailbone under to feel really strong and shortened through the front of your body. Feet squeeze together. And then gradually come off of the surface if that's for you. Otherwise, you can just make your feet light and hold. 5, 4, squeezing those feet. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Back onto the surface. Shake it out. Here's your last set coming up. And just a quick note about that research I was describing. If you're interested, you want to go search on PubMed brachiating. which is what monkeys and chimps and early humans did quite a bit of, which is why researchers think that our shoulders have evolved to kind of need those inputs for full and complete function. It's also a really super way to bring back function, which is why we're using it here today. Okay, that's your story time. So go ahead, bring your hand back onto the bar. Squeeze tightly, wrap your shoulder blades around, curl your tailbone under, and then squeeze your feet tightly together to bring your feet light off the surface or maybe completely off the surface. Squeezing the bar even as you're hanging here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Awesome. All right, shake it out. We're going to leave it there. Let us know how the hanging work felt, and we'll see you soon.